week in racing. It's time to recap it. And who better to do it than Michael and Magic? Two bros/pros who cover the highs and lows of racing around the globe on every one of their shows. Real fans look forward to these guys and their last dance, cause they know they're not talking out of their royal ascot. What they say makes sense. So ladies and gents, sit back and relax as Blinkers Off presents The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.
What's up, everybody? I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
And this is the Magic Mike Show. Mr. Stallman, back at the Great Race Place. I'm so excited. I cannot wait. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. I hit the reset button. I had a nice little recharge. I didn't look at PPs for 4 days. I got Belmont's card. We got a nice little sweaty episode here. I think I'm going to be live doing some pretty nice will pays in this late pick 4. And we got a big pick 3 rolling. So we're going to get to sweat that last race all together. And yeah, it's nice, every now and then you gotta just take the break and take a step away. And it's nice to come back to a track that I'm really confident in Santa Anita and be able to get to play some bombs from Santa Anita. And it's nice to have Santa Anita back in general. I mean, New York's a little bit of a mess with this jockey colony right now because you're restricted on who can be there. And on top of that, you have multiple people serving suspensions. One of them, Luis Saez, who I thought showed up in the Santa Anita form here when I was looking at it, which is kind of odd. So I guess he's out west, just avoiding consequence.
Yeah, funny. It's the jockeys, man. They're allowed to when they're suspended. Ruben Fuentes is off until early October, but he went down to Albuquerque Downs and won the Downs Albuquerque handicap. He had one race. He went down. It was a $225,000 purse, and he won it. So, and he showed up his little brother, but he's sitting on suspension. But I don't know. There's all sorts of weird rules about if it's a designated race, you can do it. Depending on the jurisdiction, I think New York is a lot more lenient than California are. I can't keep it straight. At this point, I'm like, are they on the PPs or not? Because that's all I can keep track of.
Yeah, man, you got to make a buck. If that means you got to ride a horse at Albuquerque, then you got to ride a horse at Albuquerque. So be it.
Yeah. So we are looking at the Great Race Place, which is kicking things off for their fall meet starting tomorrow, Friday, September 25th. But a little bit of a modified one because this is the brand new golden hour late pick 4 sequence that Mike and I talked about when they first announced it. We went on the show shortly afterwards. I think it was just a week ago. And what it's going to do is it takes the last 2 races of the day from Santa Anita, the last 2 races of the day at Golden Gate, mix them together. Their post times are 15 minutes apart, which is nice. And none of these tracks are Gulfstream, so we should have a pretty good idea of when they're actually going to go off, and they won't go on top of each other. But there's a lot of reasons we like this. It's the $1 minimum, which is going to keep some people from going super deep in certain legs. Yep. And then you've also got the 15% takeout, which is, if you're getting 50% takeout on a late pick 4 anywhere, that's a pretty good deal. It's not the best, but for 2 major tracks like this, it's pretty good.
Well, especially when you compare it to Santa Anita's late pick 4, which I think is either 23 or 24%.
A little higher, yeah.
Yeah, so we're getting like an 8% discount to play the Santa Anita Golden Gate one versus trying to play at Santa Anita. And I think it's a good way if you want to play that late pick 4 at Santa Anita. It's a better way to play it from a financial perspective. When you're trying to structure tickets in these sequences, it's awfully interesting too. A lot of times I'll try and find a single because it gets expensive to play these pretty fast. I mean, if you go 4x4 by 2x4, you're looking at like a $128 ticket right out of the gate. And that's an expensive ticket. Now, I would rarely recommend playing like a $96 50-cent ticket. I think you can play like a $96 ticket in these cases for $1 just because you are going to have a lot more separation in a lot of legs. I unfortunately couldn't find a single here. I almost singled the second leg because I wanted to go all in a specific leg. I will just use that the tease for later in which leg I was thinking about doing that because it's not the one you're thinking. I guarantee it.
You just said it was the second leg.
No, the single is the second leg. So I could hit the all button in a different leg.
Got it. Okay. I was like, you literally just told me what it was going to be. So
the single on the second leg isn't as crazy as the race I want to hit the all button in. So that's why we spoiled the single spot of it. But it really makes it harder to be able to really spread around. So you end up having to take stands and I found 2 races to be the ones I wanted to spread more because I think I can get a price, and 2 I went a little shorter in. And I'm interested to see how you ended up structuring your ticket as well.
Yeah, so you're right now, the way things look, yours $64 ticket. I got a $54 ticket. So we were forced to take some stands. I will say, I don't think we'll be as lucky this week as we were, or we won't be as lucky in future weeks as we were this week because we're kicking things off with the Awesome again. And we'll talk about that later. But It's a 5-horse field, and 2 horses are from Bob Baffert. So, it's pretty easy to either go short, take a stand, or something. But we'll talk about that in a minute. Before we get to it, though, Mike, what's the best thing you saw this week?
I posted early on Twitter. I'm getting excited for the Breeders' Cup. So the best thing I saw is you have the fixed odds that came out for all these races. Some of them atrocious, by the way. I love the game winners listed on there.
You vamp. I'm going to pull it up because this is worth sharing. Go ahead.
I mean, I like looking at these fixed odds. I think, we talked about it quite a bit before the Kentucky Oaks, and it gave us a good insight on where that odds was going to end up lining up. So even if you don't bet it, I think it's worth at least taking a peek at it. And it's really fun to look at some of the turf races on there, because you have some of those races where you see a lot of the European influence being the favorites. It kind of gives you an idea of what horses you should start looking at and handicapping in the future. But it just gets my blood pumping, man, because that means we're that close to the Breeders' Cup that we're going to have. And it's when it's all 14 of these races come up, then you start to really see some of these odds. And Magic just pulled it up for the show here. You got Maximum Security, who's your favorite, at 3.5 to 1, Authentic at 4 to 1, Tizzle at 4.5 to 1. Looking at this, it makes you wonder why Midnight Bisou is not on here. That was one of the things that jumped out right away, because next year Tom's the Todd at 10 to 1, by my standards 12, Charlatan 12 to 1. Just piece of advice: don't bet Charlatan in this.
Is he still alive? Do we have it?
No.
Last we heard, he was supposed to be in the Preakness, and that was about 4 months ago.
So I love it when these come out, and there's a couple funny ones. Like I specifically called out Hidden Scroll at 20 to 1. I'll book that. If anyone wants Hidden Scroll, I'll give you 25 to 1 right now. I'll take that action. And Game Winner 20 to 1, who officially retired 6 months after we all thought he retired yesterday.
I'm looking right now. Charlatan he still doesn't have a posted work. Like
I thought he retired, didn't he?
Charlatan, I don't know. Nadal retired. I don't know did Charlatan retire? I don't think so. I don't think he did. I think he just disappeared after he won the Arkansas Derby. He's later disqualified to 9th and lost all the purse money because of the lidocaine positive. But Jesus, this is just such a. I mean, horses like Midnight Bisou, who are still in training. Yep. And who actually could go to this, are not listed. But then someone posted it on Twitter. It's not showing up on the feed, but War Story. It's not a classic future without War Story. He's not going to win, but 1,000 words.
Magic Wand makes the list.
Magic Wand's on the list. 1,000 words is 33 to 1. I think he's got a much better shot of making it to this race than either Charlatan, Ben Battle. I don't think he's going to go to that. I still think he's going for the turf. Mucho Gusto still hasn't been seen. Maxfield literally just returned to Brendan Walsh. Hasn't even started training yet. Game Winner's retired. Tacitus is junk. Sharp Samurai is a turf horse. Hidden Scroll is junk. Vacoma's a sprinter. McKinsey can't go past a mile. Network Effect. Dennis's Moment isn't coming back till next year. Gift Box is still off. I'm up to 13, and I'm not even done with this stupid. Ginobili's a sprinter. There's 14.
You realize why books make money off this, though, right? It's like people are betting these. That's the crazy part. And when you look at this, and I'd say to you, who would you bet on this list? I literally am like, I would not bet a single horse at these odds. Not one of them. Maybe you could talk me into Maximum Security at 3.5 to 1. Maybe. Yeah. But I have no interest at Authentic at 4 to 1. I have no interest at Tis the Law at 4.5 to 1. Maybe 1,000 words you could talk me into. Maybe. But outside of that, I mean, I have no interest. Like, if people are posting Tacitus, you could have 16 to 1 on Tacitus. You're going to get higher odds in the day of the race than 16 to 1 on Tacitus, in my mind. And then you still need to make it into the gate. So I would pass pretty hard on that. But all of this being said, I'm excited because we're that close to the Breeders' Cup.
Sure.
That's really what my whole focus is here. And I booked my travel. I'm going to go to Gulfstream Park for the Breeders' Cup this year. So if you're in South Florida, hit me up. Let me know. I have an entry and a half right now to the BCBC. So if I somehow you can win half entries. It's crazy. If I somehow get another full entry, I'm going to have to fly Magic out from California to Florida. So he can come be my other half entry, and then he can do a blog for that one too. So be rooting for me to get a full entry so we can fly Magic out to Florida and do some live BCBC stuff down there.
We are 6 weeks and 1 day away from Breeders' Cup Friday. Wow. Yeah, it's coming up close. I just looking at it, if I was going to take one based off of these current odds, I would take Improbable at 12 to 1, simply because if he wins or looks really good in the Awesome, again, you're not getting 12 to 1 on him in the Classic. So if you think that he has a chance to win the Classic, 12 to 1 is the best price you're going to get on him, because if he throws up a clunker in the Awesome again, he's probably not going to the Classic. They might throw him in the Dirt Mile instead. So there's a risk reward thing. This is one of those times when I wish you could pin hook bets. I know there was a service in Las Vegas that used to let you do this. I don't know if they still do, but if you made a certain wager, you could sell it back through their service. I'd take Improbable. I would take Improbable at 12 to 1. and hope that I can pinhook it and sell it to someone, because if he wins or does really win the Awesome again and goes to the Breeders' Cup and he's say 6-1, 7-1 on the morning line, I could sell that 12-1 future to someone. So but that's all I want to touch.
It's called Bet Swap.
That's what
you have to buy it. It has to be casino ticket. It can't be offshore. And I have a buddy who does really well with Major League Baseball futures. So he buys teams to win the World Series. Like he's got the Rays, I think at like 80-1 right now. And so he bet it for I think it was $200. And so he's trying to sell that now for like 10 grand because they're like 6-1. So there's betswap.com. You can do that, but it has to be, there's specific, you have to be in certain states. It has to be casinos, all that jazz.
I just didn't know that they still were doing it. So when I first heard about those guys, I was like, "This is genius! Like this is exactly the kind of thing I wish I could invest in." So maybe it's a good thing I don't live in Las Vegas. I have two things for the best thing. One of them I'll save because it's about one of these races in a little bit. But the best thing I saw, I got into a new TV show called You're the Worst, which is on FX for 5 seasons. You ever notice, by the way, that the best thing I've seen is usually a movie or TV show lately? This is quarantine life.
Every time.
Just about every time. But it's a little bit inside baseball in terms of what it's like living in Los Angeles. So you would like it, but if you're one of our loyal listeners in like Chicago, Kentucky, it's probably not going to hit the same chord for you. But it's about two people who just literally are the worst kind of human being, and they somehow fall for each other and they navigate their relationship. And it's fun because it's a very narcissistic, cynical approach to like a romantic comedy half hour, but it's really good. So if you're looking for something new to start, also the guy who stars in it, Chris Gere, did a multi-episode run on Single Parents and was in Mrs. Magic's episode in the ill-fated season 2. And then Aya Cash, who's the female lead, is the new Stormfront in The Boys season 2. She's the new hero that joins the group. So lots of talent in there. It's really, really funny, but it's definitely it's not for everybody, and it's definitely not for kids. There are a lot of hardcore drugs in that they abuse in that show.
Yeah, I feel like because of Mrs. Magic's life, because of her work, you definitely are more exposed to this too. Like she can totally be like, "I'm working, honey," and when she's sitting there watching a TV show, so she kind of has that angle on you. And obviously, we both really enjoy media. Like we love movies, love TV, all that jazz. So I'm not surprised that in this quarantine life, this has been one of your go-to things.
Well, she works in the industry. I watch the TV. She by the time she gets done working, she's like, I don't want to touch you. And that's kind of what's turned into me. Whereas once I started making horse racing the full-time job, by the time 6 o'clock rolls around, the last thing I want to do is watch more horse racing, unless it's something really cool. Like Aaron was giving me homework assignments of races to watch earlier today. But I get it. I get it from her stance. She just wants to take a break from it all. But, speaking of horse racing, Mike, we do have a show to do. We've got the Golden Hour late pick 4 sequence for Saturday, September 26th to tackle. Let's get into it. Riders up. All right, Mike, kicking things off for the Golden Hour pick 4 starting on Saturday, September 26th. This is going to happen on the 25th of Friday, but just a reminder, we're looking at Saturday's show. Race number 1 of this sequence is race 10 at Santa Anita. This is the grade 1, $300,000 Awesome Again Stakes. This is the Breeders' Cup winner in for the Classic, and favoritism is on maximum security at 3-5. And probable is your second choice at 8-5. Really, Mike, what came down to is for me is Bob Baffert's won this race 5 times. He has the 2 big favorites in this race. Did I want to play both of them? Did I want to buy the leg using both Bafferts, or did I want to single move on? I ended up using both the Bafferts because I felt like I could make cases for either one of them. Where are you going?
Well, first off, before we jump into it, if you're looking for this bet, we're not sure where it's going to show up yet. The Golden Hour Daily Double showed up as a Daily Double in the last race at Santa Anita. So I would assume that this is going to show up as a $1 pick 4 in the 10th race at Santa Anita. If not, in your ADW, it will be its own separate, it'll say probably Golden Hour pick 4. If we get through the show without one of us calling the Golden Shower, I'll be impressed with us. If it rains during this, is that the new name of it? Just food for thought as we go through this. So I would expect that you're going to be able to have a $1 pick 4 there in race 10 starting out. So just for everyone playing it, I would check out race 10, look for a $1 pick 4 on your ADW. So this is the race I think you can go all in. To be honest, I feel like...
What?
Yeah, I know. That's why I said this is going to be the surprising one. You're not going to believe me when I say this. You have 5 horses who want the lead. You literally have 5 horses who want the lead in a 5-horse field where being on the lead is a valuable resource here at 1.125 miles at Santa Anita. So you're going to have, I mean, okay, here's the better question. And this is why I ended up on the 2 horses I ended up. So I didn't use all because I didn't single the second leg, but I was very close to going all in this leg and singling the next leg. I took Maximum Security on top. I think Maximum Security is probably the best horse here. Has shown very little ability to stalk, which is a very scary thing in this spot because you have literally 4 other speed horses in here. But I do think Maximum Security is the best horse. So if all 5 try and go, I think Maximum Security can win the race. That's, I think, kind of the route that you see for him. I don't see how Take the 101 doesn't just sprint from the start, though. And I think that's really going to mess up this race because then you're going to have Midcourt, Maximum Security, and Probable, who all horses who tend to run their best very on or close to lead, chasing a very, very fast pace. So I'm going to go with the only horse that can close is my other horse. Give me Sleepy Eyes Todd.
I'm out of here. I'm sorry.
Like,
I really thought that was a typo when you sent me that number.
No, it isn't. But look, I'm going Star and Scrub here. I'm going to take the Star. I'm going to go with the Scrub, who has the pace advantage. You're going to have 4 horses, 5 horses, even if because Sleepy Eyes Todd wired the field last time, getting a career best 102 buyer. Why can't he come from off the pace? Who else is going to come from off the pace? Explain to me how you see this pace setup. Let's start with that.
I think Take the 101 is going to sprint. He's on the rail. This horse, can only go a mile, so I think his best chance is to try and go up front. It's also Calbred. I have the Take the 101 is in here because is there not a California bred stakes coming up? I don't know. I would expect that he goes. I would expect that Sleepy Eyes Todd goes. And I think, it depends on what mood Victor Espinoza is in, because if Victor wants to get him to go, then, maybe he'll be up front. Sleepy Eye, really?
I think he's going to close. He has won multiple races from off the pace. He's the only horse in this field who has won races finished being when he's in 4th or less. Only horse in the entire field.
So this is where the other best thing that I saw came, and I can tell he's not watching because he would have said something by now. But Aaron, in the text chain with Jared and I, had us convinced for about an hour or so that Sleepy Eyes Todd was his top pick in this race. Turns out it was complete horseshit. He doesn't think this horse has a chance in hell. But one of the reasons I say it's the best thing is because he really was committed to this thing. And by the time he admitted that it was complete BS, I really thought that he was serious about this. But you're actually serious. You're actually
I'm going to use him. I'm going 2 deep, and I'm going to use the 3 and the 5, Sleepy Eye Todd and Max Security.
He will be the first horse ever to win a stakes race at Fauner Park and the Awesome Again in the same year. Hell, the first horse to win both, period. Any race at Fauner Park and the Awesome Again.
If there was a year that this was going to happen, it would
Jesus,
be 2020.
isn't that the truth? Yeah.
But if you also want to talk about, let's just we're going to reel it back a little bit here. Look, this horse just ran a 102 buyer. It's late in the 4-year-old season. You have a horse that's clearly improving. Rispoli picks up the mount. The last 3 races, the horse has taken a step up and a step up in the 2 races before that. You could actually make an argument this horse has improved quite a bit since his 3-year-old form. And this would be one of the times you'd expect to run a career best buyer. If it improves off the 102, it fits. It also has the ability to close. No one else does. Yeah, I agree with you. This horse running at Fauner is not exactly a plus. Like, I get it.
And Charlestown is a bull ring circuit, so it's hard to close. So that's why he won by so much. I mean, that wasn't a great. One of the things Aaron said, I'll help you out a little bit here. He said Hunk of Burning Love, who beat this horse by a head in the Lone Star Mile, which is actually, by the way, Lone Star Mile has turned out some pretty good horses for it being a Lone Star Park $75,000 stakes. Hunk of Burning Love won an allowance at Remington, last out by 13. And he was won 6 straight on the dirt.
He also was at Will Rogers like 4 months ago. So there's that too. I mean, I could knock on Burning Love pretty good. But all of that being said, the horse has a clear pace advantage in my mind. The horse can close. He's proven it. And the horse is improving. And I'm going to get a monster price. And the way to if I can get Sleepy Eye Todd home to start this out, and I think you can chuck Midcourt, Take the 101. So that is a 3-horse race. I think Max Security is clearly better than Improbable. So I'm going to chuck Improbable. And I'm down to 2 horses. I'm going to use them both.
Well, I'm going to use the 2 Baffords. I agree with you. Maximum Security is my top pick as well. 3rd start of the form cycle. The race for him to lose, the race to try and beat Maximum Security was a San Diego handicap. We said that before that race. We said it afterwards. This was the time to beat him. Now Luis Saez is spending his weekend in California for Maximum Security. He's also got a bunch of other really nice mounts throughout the weekend, but aside from the fact that I don't love the fact that Abel got replaced, but if you can get Luis Saez to come ride him, you bring him out here for it. The one knock I'll make on Improbable, and I think that Improbable is running at the best races of his life have been the last two, the Gold Cup and the Whitney. He's not great pre-race. And I think that's the one knock on him. And there's still going to be no fans at Santa Anita other than the owners that are allowed to go. But, his pre-race antics is always going to, for me, is always going to be his downfall. And so, anybody, even without the fans at the Whitney, he was fractious in the gate, ended up getting the job done. But if you look at the Whitney, he ran really well. But the big story was Tom's Top blew the start and was nowhere to be found. So you could say, yeah, he won the Whitney. And I could hear you say, yeah, but Tom's Top was the best horse and he didn't get a good chance to start. The Gold Cup, that was not a good field. But it's Baffert. He's won this 5 times. He wouldn't put both of them here if he didn't think they both had a shot. Improbable also was supposed to go to Belmont for the Jockey Club Gold Cup. That race is actually 2 weeks later, and Baffert wanted the 6-week separation leading into the Classic. That's why they're facing each other, in case you had any questions. But tell me real quick why you're not using Improbable.
Well, I mean, both of us thought he couldn't get a mile and a quarter before the Gold Cup, and I'm not going to go ahead and say that he's going to be able to get a mile and a quarter or a mile and an eighth based off the last 2 races. I mean, you pointed out, the Gold Cup's field, higher power is your second choice and then tenfold, right? Okay, and then we're going to go on to the Whitney. The Whitney, the only horse that could beat him, missed the break and actually looked like he was going to make it a race at one point from coming from way back. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we just talked about the odds for the Breeders' Cup, and Tom's Tot is sitting there at 10-1, and by my standards at 12-1, and those are the horses he faced last time. And Maximum Security is sitting there at the 3-5 or the 3.5-1 favorite. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's facing much deeper water here, and neither of us thought he could get the distance then. Why do you think he can get the distance now against this level of horse? That would be my return question.
That's a good question. The pace setup. I think that the pace setup, the way I see this happening, really but I think he's gonna stalk. I don't think he's gonna be on the lead. I think he's gonna stalk, and if he can get first jump on Maximum Security, we don't know what Santa Anita is gonna look like because the track is just not gonna be opening. If it's more of a tiring, slow track, if he gets the jump on Maximum Security, there's already a horse that you have to ride from the halfway down the backstretch to get him involved. If Maximum Security spins his wheels or has a little bit of trouble with that track, I think Improbable is going to get the first jump on him, and I think that is how he could win. But I think it's going to take Maximum Security not loving the Santa Anita track for that to happen.
I love it. He'll be nice and weak when Sleepy Eye Todd rolls right by him.
We'll roll on to the second leg of the Golden Hour, pick 4. Race 9 at Golden Gate Fields, their second to last race. The penultimate one, you got a field of 6 males, 3 and up, going 5.5 furlongs on their synthetic main track. This is an optional claimer, non-winners of 2 other than. Favoritism is on the number 1, Passionate Reward at 9-5. And Mike, this is where we further diverge. I'm taking a stand against him. I'm going 3 deep, and I am not using him because I think this is a bad price on a camera-shy horse. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to end up 2 deep here. Passionate Reward I am going to use as my second horse.
Okay.
I'm going to go with the 4 horse, No Longer Silent. This was almost my single. And this is the horse I think you can make a pretty good case for singling. Look, this is second time out as a 3-year-old. This is like a classic Mike Somich horse. We've got a long layoff. The horse comes back and runs exceptionally well considering that long layoff for a top barn and Jonathan Wong. I'm a little surprised Frey didn't stay on here. That was one of the reasons why I didn't end up singling this horse. If Frey's back onto the 1 horse, and Wong also has 2 in here. Both of those kind of move me away from it. However, if Wong scratches his other horse, that makes this play even stronger in my mind. So it'll be interesting to see what happens on race day. But runs a career best by 80 off the bench. I think that's actually a good sign here. We've got a bunch of pace signed up, so I like the fact that this horse stalks and closes. We're getting second off the bench as a 3-year-old. That was a very long layoff too. So this is the second off a long layoff, almost 9-month layoff. I would expect him to step forward again. His second is a later 3-year-old. If this horse improves off it and runs at mid-80s buyer and comes from off the pace, I don't see why this horse can't get the job done. And I like the fact that it's not the favorite either. So for me, I thought the 4 No Longer Silent was the top pick. I'm going to go 2 deep here and use Passionate Reward. But that's where I'm going to stop in this spot because and like I said, I almost went all in the first leg and singled No Longer Silent here in the second leg.
I use No Longer Silent. I use both the Wong horses. I like the fact that, this second off is a big angle. There was a career best effort off of a layoff his first time as a 3-year-old. Now he's facing elders, but there's not not that many horses in this, and only 3 of them are older than he is. So, he's got that going for him. But I'm sorry, 4 of them. I can't do math still. But he's also carrying 120 pounds. His last 3 races: 122, 124, 124. So I like that he's going to be he's getting the low weight in this, or at least compared to what the other favorites are doing. Roman and Wong, they're fine together. It's at 24%. Not worried about that. Check out that bullet work on September 18th. That was pretty good. Best of 31. I mean, I think, he can't, that to me says that there's not any risk of a bounce, because sometimes if a horse makes a big effort first off of a layoff, a little worried, are they going to bounce next out? Were they too primed for that race that it's going to negatively affect them? I think that there's no worry here.
Well, that effort also wasn't that big of an effort. I think that's the other thing that you have to look at. I mean, the horse ran a 71 buyer early in his 2-year-old career. If you look, well, I guess not early, September in his 2-year-old career. 10% improvement from late 2-year-old season, late 3-year-old season isn't that big of a jump. And so people look at that and they say, oh, it's going to bounce off a career best effort. No, that's like a marginal uplift. You have to think there's more in the tank. If you look at it that way, it should be 20% better. And if that's the case, you're going to have a high 80s here. And if it runs a high 80s, good night.
The reason I'm against Passionate Reward, the one horse, the favorite, is like I said, he's just been camera shy, and this might bite me in the ass. But when if the price is 9 to 5, this is your favorite. That scared me away. But the horse has got 4 wins from 7 starts, never missed the board at Golden Gate on the synthetic surface, so he's got that going for him. Route to sprint, it's not a great angle for the specific trainer, but it's usually a good angle to work with overall. It just, for me, it was the price. But I did put on top the number 2, El Chavo del Ocho. I think this horse is running at the top of his game right now. 84 buyers back to back, one of them on dirt, one of them on this synthetic course. It's Jonathan Wong. Billy Anton Georgie is going to be riding for the 7th straight time. He's carrying the high weight of 125, but he's carried heavier in one before. Just those last 2 efforts at similar levels, one of them being on this synthetic course, they really popped to me. He beat Darn Quick handily. Neither of us are using the horse, but he is, in this race. So why did you not use the 2 horse, I guess, is my biggest question.
I like No Longer Silent more, and that was really the main reason. I also, from a budget perspective, I couldn't get there. I mean, I hear what you're saying about Passionate Reward being camera shy, but I mean, the last 3 races, if you look at them, were all very good races. The 6 furlong was the only one on synthetic. If you go back to his other synthetic, he was not camera shy at all last year with 3 wins over the synthetic course. So I think that he's getting back to what he's good at, which is sprinting on the synth. And that's, if you go back to just those races in Passionate Reward, you see a very good record. El Chavo de Ocho, I think one thing you didn't mention, I think is a definite positive. Look at how well he's done since he got rid of the blinkers. I think his efforts before the blinkers were better. His efforts since his 5-year-old season started here, and the last 3 races with the blinkers were good. A little concerned 4th off the layoff. I like the 2nd and 3rd off the layoff, but that 4th is oftentimes when you see a little bit of regression. And with the fact that I think that he needs to improve to beat No Longer Silent, that's what scares me. Is if No Longer Silent takes a step forward, I expect. I think No Longer Silent is clearly better than the 2. Now I'm projecting that step forward, and that's what I do. I mean, that's how I end up on some of the prices I end up on.
Of course.
It also is why I leave some horses like this off, where I'm just going to take a stand and say No Longer Silent is better than El Chavo de Ocho, and I'm going to be hoping that I'm right.
I also used the 6 Honeymoons over in here. This was the last horse to make it on for me, but I really like that effort at the $25,000 claiming level last out. I think this is the speed horse, and for me, the way I looked at how the race was going to set up, I think this horse is going to be on the lead when they turn for home. And if he gets a loose lead, I mean, it's sprinting, so you expect a lot of these horses to show speed. But if he gets a loose lead, he could be dangerous. Brian Pena showed what happened when he gets a loose lead last time, and it was over this exact course and distance last out. The 3rd place horse, Sunrise Journey, came back to win in his next start. So I'm trying to find a price because I'm expecting that one of the 2 Bafferts wins there. That's also a reason why I'm against the 1 here. As if this thing chalks out, I'm not going to feel very happy about it. So trying to beat him, I went with the 6.
Yeah, I mean, my main thing is what he's coming out of, obviously. I mean, that's where my concern is. Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're looking at it, at a horse that's coming out of a lower level claimer. I like the effort. The Wayne Baker barn's been really hot here. 3 for 18, 17%, but it's just a 6% trainer outside of that. So that's obviously a little concerning for me. So, I think that this horse definitely has a shot. I'm not going to knock it there. And I do think it's going to show some speed, but I also think there's other speed in here. And I think that other speed is probably a little bit better and touched by autism as well as Passionate Reward. And so I think it's going to be a pretty hot pace up front. And that's another reason why it points back to the 4 horse No Longer Silent here for me.
Well, we definitely agree about that horse. Move on to this third leg of the Golden Hour Pick 4 on Saturday, September 27th. Back to Santa Anita for their final race, race 11 on their card. Field of 11 juvenile Calbreds, 10 mils, 1 filly, going a mile on the turf course. And big question here, Mike. Where are Flavien Prat and Umberto Rispoli? They are nowhere to be found in this race. It is a turf route. I don't understand what happened. They're racing that day. I don't know why they're not on this, but you know what? It actually made it a little easier for me to handicap because I don't think they'd be on the horses I use. Favoritism is on the number 2 Ingest at 9-5. I think he's a very deserving favorite, but I went 3 deep here. What about you?
Yeah, I ended up 4 deep here. I agree with you. I think Ingest should be the favorite. It was my top pick here. You know how I feel about Square Eddies on the turf. This horse has shown speed the last 2 efforts. Going to have the inside speed at the mile, which is awfully very dangerous at Santa Anita. Freudian slip there back to the spa. So I think that this horse is going to be awfully dangerous. And I like the gelding too. That offers a step forward for the O'Neill barn. So I think the 2 Ingest is a deserving favorite and is going to be tough up front. I'm interested in the first-time starter all the way to the outside, the 10 horse, the Loot Is Mine. To me, Peter Miller, very good first starting. And I like the fact that Saez is up on this horse. You don't see Miller and Saez often. Saez is a good first-time out jockey because he generally is an aggressive jockey. So I like the fact that I think this horse can be a little more forwardly placed. I also like a couple of the works out of the gates. So I think this horse is going to have some speed. It's going to be able to show a little bit more on the front end. I would expect it's going to be pretty placed up front. But the fact that you then also mentioned we're without Rispoli, we're without Pratt, I'm going to go to who I believe is the next best jockey, and that's Saez on that 10 horse. So for me, I think Ingest and the Loot Is Mine are the 2 must uses here.
This is the Loot Is Mine. This is the horse I kept going. This is what made me go, wait a minute. Pratt should have been on this. It's Barber, it's Miller, it's Turf. Where's Pratt? And then I went, wait, where's Rispoli? They're neither one around here. Okay. No, it's a great point. Saez being an aggressive rider, I think is going to help because you have a horse that's debuting in a route from all the way out in post 10. And I think Saez is going to make sure that this horse gets settled and gets over. Probably not going to get the rail, but if this horse can be too deep going into that first turn and settle, I think that's going to be a great position. You have to appreciate the new shooter angle. So all 3 horses I'm using, you're using as well. 2 of these horses I picked largely because of their breeding. We'll start with the Loot Is Mine. This is a full brother to Give Me the Loot, who's won 3 times on turf, one of those being a route. And it was with Peter Miller as a Gary Barber horse as well. They lost him to Acclaim, but the horse has still been put. The last 2 races were 90 and 92 buyers in turf wins. So plenty of talent here. My top pick is 8 Warren's Candyman. This is a 15-1 horse that is my top pick. First of all, Craig Lewis, this guy, if there's a clubhouse ride horse, this is an automatic play for me. Craig Lewis is 7 for his last 18 with second start maidens. All 7 of those winners were by clubhouse ride. This guy is the clubhouse ride whisperer. He trained the horse. He knows how to handle all the offspring. It's freaking fantastic. And you usually get a price because if you look at Lewis's overall numbers with maiden second starts, 35%, 546 ROI. Are you kidding me? That's fantastic. And now we're getting Alexis Santino, who's a very talented bug jockey, getting a 7-pound allowance here. But what about her pedigree? What about this horse's pedigree? The full brother to Warren Showtime. Is that name familiar? Yeah, pretty familiar. 4-time stakes winner, 3 times on turf, 2 times versus Open Company. So plenty of ability here. Also, Warren Showtime lost her debut, won her second race, which was a turf route. Warren's Candyman to me is if I can get close to 15-1, there's a lot of money I'm putting on this horse to win because I think this horse could be really effing sneaky and really make this thing blow up.
Yeah, we'll see how sneaky. I used it too. And for all the reasons you said, I mean, that 35% in 20 starts of 546 ROI jumps off the page for second start. And when you look at the first race and how the horse ran, it kind of makes you think that the second start is going to be something what it wants. It kind of was toward the back of the field, didn't really show that much, but was a glorified workout for the horse. And now this second start's when you really expect to see it. You mentioned Candy Ride, a great sire. Warren Showtime, obviously, being a half to this is also huge. So I'm not going to go too much into it, but I did use the 8 Warren's Candyman as well. The other horse that I ended up using was JC Express. In these races, I often look for horses that have a logical step forward. Look, Peter Urton does not dial it up first time out. He's not one of those who's a high percentage first-time out trainer. A lot of times you see him give a horse a chance to get a race under his belt, and then he goes to the spot where he believes the horse is best fit. I'm talking about JC Express here. He's got a 300 or 345 Tomlinson on the turf, so I think it's going to be better on the turf than the dirt. And I love the fact that Gonzalez stays aboard. That first race, if it is a setup race, to have Gonzalez on for both races, I think is a good sign here, especially with how well he's done in Southern California. I think this horse is a live horse again. Second start for the Urton Barn, 15% out, $1.90 ROI. Good with 2-year-olds as well. And, Gonzalez is 1 for 2. The other one, obviously, you see one of the losses here. So it's going to be interesting to see if this horse can take a big step forward. I didn't love a lot of the other horses, and so that kind of led me to the second-time starter, who I think can take that big jump. So I ended up 4 deep here with the 2, 5, 8, and 10.
I wanted to use the 5 because I love Urton, especially going Urton with turf horses and maidens. When you think like on paper, you look at it and you're like, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, I don't think this horse could win. Urton's sneaky good with that, and this is a horse that if Reese Belair Pratt was on, would have made it take. No knock on Ricky Gonzalez, but that it would have taken that to push it over and make this a much harder decision. I didn't talk about the 2 in Jest. You did a great job covering things, but one thing in Jest was 3rd in that race, missed second by a nose. Warren's Candyman was in that race. I know that the 6th investment account as well. Big Fish won that. Big Fish returned to win the Del Mar Juvenile Turf Stakes next out. So pretty big key race. And the fact that in Jest was a nose away from second, just a length behind the winner, I mean, if it wasn't for the fact that Warren Showtime's younger brother was in this race, I almost would have said try and single in Jest, because I think this horse has got plenty of ability. And the first time gelding angle, you nailed that as well. So we definitely agree on those 3 horses. And you're going to use the Urton horse. And if you could go a little bit deeper here, that's exactly the horse that I would have put on there.
Love it. Hopefully we're both live through 3 legs.
We'll move on to the 4th leg at the late pick, the Golden Hour pick 4. Damn, I messed it up on the last one. We're going to Golden Gate Fields for their finale on Saturday, September 26th. Race 10 on the card, field of 12 fillies, 3 and up, plus 1 also eligible. Going a mile on the turf course. These are non-winners of 2 lifetime in for a 62.50 tag. Favoritism is on the number 2, Lucky Miss Jones at 5-2. You've also got the 3, Big Maria at 3-1. I'm using both of those plus a long shot. You are as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think that Lucky Miss Jones is one of those horses that you can't really discard here. That was my top pick in this spot. Again, we're going back to Frey, who I was one of those top jockeys, but you also have the Steve Sherman Barnes, 29%. I like the fact that we got second off a long layoff. That's something I generally look for. And when you just focus on this horse's turf efforts, they're clearly as good or better than everybody else in this field. And I think getting back onto the turf last time was a key. We get second off the layoff, second out on the turf here. I would expect this horse to take a step forward. I also like a lot of those races that ran in Southern California. I look a lot for Southern California horses at Golden Gate. We got a lot of good efforts in Southern California. So for me, the 2 horse was the top pick. The one to the right to the outside, Big Maria, was my other must-use. I thought the 2 and the 3 were the 2 horses you kind of had to include on your tickets here. Big Maria showed a big-time improvement getting back onto turf. If you look at the first start, ran a 59 buyer first time out on turf, then took a layoff and never repeated that buyer until it got back onto turf. Ran a 63. Last time was the first time trying 2 turns. I think we're going to get a better effort 2 turns here. I think we're going to show a little bit more speed. I like Mr. Big on the turf. All these things line up to me liking the 2 and the 3 here and thinking that they're both live.
Yeah, you nailed them great. Listen, Lucky Miss Jones, the fact that she broke her maiden at Santa Anita going a mile in her second career start, I think that's a big deal. And it was versus Calbreds, but it was protected Calbreds. Nobody in for a tag. She keeps taking a drop because Steve Sherman's trying to find the right level for her, and the 62.50 level last time out seemed like it was a good spot. You would think that if that was her second start back rather than miss by less than a length, maybe she could have gotten the job done. Big Maria, normally I don't like playing 3-year-olds facing olders, but she's done okay in her last one. She's taken a big class drop, so you have to like that. I like that we're getting a 7-pound weight allowance with the Bug Santos Rivera hopping aboard, so nothing wrong with those. This is where we're going to diverge a little bit because my third and final choice is the 5, Totally Normal. I'm going back to the D. Wayne Baker barn with Brian Pena aboard, just like I did last race. If those 2 have a day, it's going to be good for Magic. Taking a class drop, was at the 12.5 level in the first start for Baker. Didn't do well, drops down to the 10.5 with Santos Rivera aboard. First time with blinkers. Got third, just ran out of time. I think the second angle, the angle that you like, which is second time blinkers, I think that's going to help this horse. I'm getting 10-1 on her. I don't like that she's 3, but 4 of her 5 starts going a mile on turf, she's hit the board. She's got to win a second and 2/3. So when you're at this level, this lower level 62.50 in California, you have to start looking for little things that might help your argument a little bit. And that's what I've got with this horse at 10-1.
Yeah, I looked at this horse quite a bit. I actually had quite a bit of redlining on my forms here. That's why I'm looking back down at it. it's tough for me because look, I like Jeff Matz more than I like Wayne Baker generally, just from a percentage trainer perspective. And Matz had this horse before the last 2 races for Baker. Those last 2 were at Golden Gate on the turf, so you can definitely make an argument that there's some improvement there. Obviously, the horse is getting older as a 3-year-old, is going to improve as well. I have a problem with the fact that this horse went off at 56 and 62 to 1 the last 2 times out. That to me was the kind of the killer. The effort was unexpected in both cases and a vast improvement in both cases. So to then make the argument that I think this horse is going to take another step forward, which I think would be required to win, makes it tough to swallow even 10 to 1 for me. Because you in my mind, you're taking a lower level barn that needs a horse to improve a 3rd straight time after it came into the barn from a trainer that I respect more. And so all of that kind of steered me away. It actually would have been my 5th horse if I wanted to use one here.
Okay.
But I just, all of that pushed me away from that specific horse and toward the 8, who was the next horse on my ticket here. It's again a horse coming off a layoff, hadn't run before August 23rd since May 31st. This is a 4-year-old, late in the 4-year-old season, getting 2nd start off a layoff. That first start, I think, was clearly just a tune-up, 5 furlongs on the turf when the horse had been going longer prior to the layoff. We're dropping from 12.5 down to 6.25 here, so I think we're getting a little bit of a class relief as well. Bet down to $2.70 in that race. I think this horse is going to be able to show some speed and be able to just stalk right behind the leaders. And if we get an improvement, watch out. And you go back to that race back on November 3rd of 2019, horse ran a 65 over this turf course, going a mile and 16th. So you know the horse likes the course. You know the buyer is in it. If this horse takes a step forward and is able to improve, and I think that 51 isn't really a relevant number because I feel like that was more of a prep than anything else. I just wanted to get a run into the horse off the layoff. The second off the layoff, if you see a nice improvement, anything in the high 60s, low 70s is good to win this race. I think this is one of the few horses that has the capability of putting that up in this spot.
When you also have the big class drop, the tag is literally being slashed in half here, and the horse that was second there is Boom Chicka Boom. I remember that, and I was looking at this horse live it well for a bit. Boom Chicka Boom is a pretty talented Jonathan Wong runner who, if she was in this race, I think would be a really nice or a really short price. So she was beaten 4 lengths by that horse, but that shows you this is a talented Golden Gate turfer at the claiming level. So. Not a bad angle there. Who's your 4th horse you're using?
I'm going to use Early in the Morn. It's a 10 horse, a little bit of a stretch. I'm going pure speed here. I think this horse is going to send, and I want the horse on a lead at this level. It's that simple to me.
Yes, you do.
It won an 8,000 maiden, and it was 3 to 1 in that race, and then came back and was 30 to 1 last time out. I'm not going to get 30 to 1 on this spot, but look, this horse is going to send. It has absolutely no choice. Clearly something clicked 2 back to run a 51 buyer, which is its career best, and comes back with a 63. It's the first time this horse touched the turf. If it improves at all, second time versus winners or second time on the turf, and it's able to get the lead, maybe it shows a little bit more heart and gets the job done. I feel like we have, and what changed to me was the jockey, that you have a very aggressive jockey, just sent the last 2 races, and I'm hoping we get the same thing. And maybe we're ahead at the top of the lane, and early in the morning gets brave in the afternoon, and we close this thing out at a price. You liked that, didn't you?
I did. I know there's no better way. I'm just gonna, for the podcast, I'm just gonna cut it there because there's no way better than that line to end that. All right, that's going to wrap things up. Thanks so much for joining Mike and I for going through the first ever Golden Hour Pick 4 on a Saturday, looking at Santa Anita Park and Golden Gate Fields. We'll go ahead and give out our tickets one last time. If you're watching live or the replay on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Periscope, thanks so much for joining us. Look down below. They're going to be right there for you. I'll start off, and remember, this is a $1 base minimum, so that's where our tickets are going to be a little shorter than normal. I'll start off going 2-5 with 2-4-6 with 2-8-10 with 2-3-5. That is a $54 ticket. Mr. Samich, go for yours.
I'm going to play 3-5 with 1-4 with 2-5-8-10 with 2-3-8-10 for $1. That'll cost you $64.
This is going to be a really exciting experiment because we saw how well the Golden Hour Daily Double worked, where it was a $5 base minimum. It was the last race at Santa Anita into the last race at Golden Gate. It keeps people caring about racing, especially if you're on the East Coast, well past when you normally would care. So I'm really hoping this turns out. If you end up playing, let us know. Shoot us your plays on Twitter. I am at Chris Cody. He's at SummerBomb18, number 8. The corporate overlords, I have to say it, they're at Racing_Dudes. But hey, if you're watching or following us, you're probably watching or following those guys too. Speaking of which, in 45 minutes at 4 p.m. Pacific, they will be going live with blinkers off. So I'm excited to see what happens with those guys. They're going to be covering all 8 Breeders' Cup Challenge Series races that are this weekend. Did you know we have 8 of them? We have 8 of them.
Well, I did not. I'm sure you did. You already have your schedule prepared for Saturday, I bet.
I have my schedule for next week, Wednesday. This is what Wednesday looks like. You see how many entries are on that page? There's a lot of previews that we have to do. But I want to thank Aaron because he actually helped me because he can't help me next week. He helped me this week with some of the previews that are over at racenews.com. So go check those out.
Doesn't look like you have much break time available there.
No.
When are you going to fit that in?
Listen, just like life, it finds a way. We've got the Vosburg at Belmont Park to kick things off on Saturday. The American Pharoah actually kicking things off technically is going to be the Chandelier. Princess Nora is, I think, 2 to 5 on the morning line. I said if you can get Spielberg at 3 to 1 in the American Pharoah, lock it up. If you get Princess Nora at 2 to 5, I think that's a pretty solid lock too. That field is terrible, and that horse is a monster.
Yeah,
no comment. You just believe.
I don't disagree with anything you said, so no reason to tug it out there.
God damn it. All right, we're going to end things. Thanks so much for joining us for another episode of the Magic Mike Show. Like I said, make sure you stick around. Catch the blinkers off, guys. Until next time, I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
We'll see you next time.
The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.